Hello, I'm Ross Plasko and welcome to this animation course. This course is aimed at beginner animators. So we're going to go from opening After Effects for the very first time all the way up to having a fully animated character walk. Now to complete this course, you're going to need a working version of After Effects plus a rigging script. I'm going to be using Rubber Hose 2. Now, first of all, let's open up After Effects. Now, this is what it looks like. It can be a little bit daunting if you've never opened it before, but all we need are these three panels. The composition panel, where our character is going to be visible. The project panel, where we keep all of our artwork and comps, just in case we need them later. And down here, this is where your layers are going to be. Over here, we can close the tracker panel, close the align panel, close effects and presets, and even close the preview panel. Audio, info, close them all. Now I'm just going to do a little rearranging to maximize our space. Grab the composition panel by clicking and dragging on the word composition. Drag it over to the right. Let's fill about half the screen with that. And now let's drag this up so that we cover most of the project panel, but we can get to it if we ever need it. Now we actually need one extra panel, but I left it out so that you can find out how to add panels. Click Window. Go down to Effect Controls. Now what that does is it adds the panel. I've put mine up here, but you can put yours over here, or After Effects is actually good at letting you rearrange the panels so we can actually have it split like this. So you can have project over here and effects like here. Drag this up again. Now let's make a new composition. New composition. Let's make it 1000 by 1000. Composition name character. I'm going to make this 24 frames a second, resolution full, and let's make the duration something like 1 minute long. Background color white. Okay. Now, as you can see, we have our timeline up here. You can move it along by grabbing this blue little thing up here. This is where all of our layers are going to go. I've split the screen in this way so you can maximize the number of layers that you can see at any one time, because layers in After Effects are set out like a list, and you want to be able to see as many as possible without having to scroll through the layers. If you want the composition to fit to your screen, just go down here and click Fit. And there you have it. Let's get drawing. Okay, first things first, you need a character. I'm going to supply you with a few characters of my own. But it really is up to you. You can just do a little sketch, or you can draw something in Photoshop if you have a tablet and just drag it into After Effects. Press S for scale if it doesn't fit into your comp like mine. Now I'm just going to build this character in different layers using shape layers. How do you make a shape layer? Well, just go up to here and use the pen tool, shortcut G. First of all, I'm going to trace his left eye. Now, as you can see, the stroke on this shape layer is very, very thick. That's because by default, the default setting up here has it to 105 pixels. So I'm just going to change the default settings so that the next shape layer doesn't have that thicker stroke. Then I'm also going to change the default fill to white. Then I'm going to name this layer left eye. So what is a shape layer? Well, let's open up the eye and see what we have. Shape layers consist of a path, which is the controlling line that the shape adheres to, the stroke, which is the outline, and you can change the stroke width and the color here, and the fill, which does the obvious thing, it fills in the shape. I'm just going to hide this eye so I can see where the pupil is, and I'm going to draw and do exactly the same thing, draw that pupil. Open it up by double tapping U, and I'm going to make the fill color the same as the stroke color. I can do that by color picking this to this, or a more reliable way of doing that is pick whipping. Grab this pick whip, hover over the word color, and so if I ever decide to change the color of this in the future, whatever I change it to, it will automatically change the fill. Press L to close the layers, and I'm going to rename this left pupil. Now I'm going to highlight both of these layers, hold down Command and click to highlight another layer, Command D to duplicate and drag these layers down below these and move them along, holding down Shift and right. And there we have another eye and another pupil. Rename this right pupil to move down a layer, Command and down. Rename this right eye. Now I'm going to draw the head shape. You get this nice curve if you click and hold down and drag. I try to use the least amount of vector points as possible. Otherwise, if you want to change the design, it becomes a really complicated process. Let's call this head and drag it down below the eyes and then double tap U, and then I'll just match the color to the skin color of the design. Close the layer with L, hide all these layers, and then I'm going to draw the ear. Start from here. Try to get it to match the artwork as closely as possible. Call this left ear, and I'm going to use butt capper to get a round cap and a round join. Double tap U, and then I'm going to match the fill to the fill of the head, so that if I ever change the color of the head, it will automatically change the color of the ear. Move this along. Hide these layers, and then I'm going to add this ear line to the ear, because shape layers can actually hold more than one shape. So with that left ear highlighted, I'm going to draw another path. We can't see this, so I'm just going to show it here. If you want to move this path, hold down Command and just drag a box over the points, and then just move those points with the arrow keys, and then highlight the layer, use butt capper, round cap, round join, and there you have an ear. Just going to draw the hair now. I'm going to hide this. Then I want to start drawing from this point. So I just highlight that point, and now we can draw from here. Call this front hair. Show all the layers, and you'll see that it's in front of the ear, so I want to drag it down below the ear, and I can also move layers, holding down Alt, Command, and move them up or down with the arrow keys. Then I'm going to double tap U to open up the layer, and I'm going to color pick the color of the hair, like that. Round cap, round join. Now I'm going to make another layer for the hair. Put it behind the head. Start from here. Just drag it down below the head and call it fringe back. Open up that layer, open up this layer, and then I'm going to pick whip the color to the front hair. Round cap, round join, hide these layers now. And I'm just going to add this last black line, highlight the fringe back, and I'm just going to draw another line right here. So let's show that. Round cap, round join. Show all the layers, and that looks nice. Now, let's hide all the layers again and draw the mouth. So just the basic shape. Call this mouth. Change the fill to the same as the inside of the mouth. Zoom in. And now I'm going to draw some teeth. So with the mouth layer highlighted, I'm not going to click on its path. I'm going to click off of its path. And by clicking off of its path, it creates another shape inside our mouth shape layer. And I'm going to draw some teeth. And now because I'm editing another path, if I hover over that path, it doesn't say that I'm going to edit that path. So I can click on that path without editing. I'm still on our teeth path. Although, just to be safe, if I continue drawing the teeth, I'm just going to click off of the other path and carry on drawing like that, so that I don't accidentally edit the other path. Let's see how that looks. Obviously, we need to go into the teeth shape, double-click U, and change the color to white. Also change the caps, and then add a little bit extra. Another third shape. A little black line, and then change the caps. And then if you want to change any of the other points, hold down Command, and then drag over one of the points, like that. Now let's draw a tongue. So I'm not going to click on any of the paths. I'm going to click away and then drag my point onto that path. And just draw a shape that looks like a tongue. Now, as you can see, the tongue is over the teeth. So just close these shapes, and I know that this is the tongue. So I'm just going to drag that underneath the teeth. So I know this is the tooth line, and these are the teeth. And this is the mouth shape. So we want the tongue above the mouth shape and below the teeth. Open it up, hide the layer, and color match to your design. Now it should look like your design. Excellent. And now we have a fully designed head. Okay, we've layered the head. Let's layer the rest of the character. Start with this line. Drag down to here. Along here. And then up. And over to here. Call this body. Drag it down to the bottom. And change the fill to the same as that one. And then obviously butt capper, round cap, round join. Close that layer, click away. We're going to draw a crotch. Now I know this might not look like it matches the artwork, but we're going to fix that later. Just trust me, this is the best way to do it because of how the legs are rigged. Call this crotch. Drag it down below the body. Open it up, double tap U, and fill. That's right. Hide all of these layers. We're going to draw the arm. Open this up, and we're going to call it left arm top. Change the fill color, and then highlighting that same layer, we're going to draw the top half of the arm. Like this. Close that shape and drag this one below that one. Double tap U and change this color to the skin color. Close that layer. Change the caps. And as you can see, we have left arm top, just like that. Show all the layers, and then I'm going to drag it above the body but below the head. Okay, hide all these layers. Let's do left arm bottom. Call this left arm bot. And drag it just above the left arm top. And I'm going to pick whip the color and do the round caps. Hide that. Now we're going to draw a hand. Pretty simple stuff. Round cap, round join. Call this left hand. Open it up. Make it the same color as the skin here. Drag it just above the left arm bot. Hide that. Now let's draw the right arm. Call this right arm top. Open it up. Change that color. With the same layer, with this layer highlighted, we're going to add another shape to the same shape. Just like the other arm. And we're going to change the order of these layers. Just drag this one above this one. And we're going to change the fill to the same as the skin. Drag this right down to the bottom. And now we're going to draw the right arm bot. Like that. Don't complete the shape, just leave it like that. Drag it just above the right arm top, right arm bot. Change the color. And highlight the layer and change the cap. There you go. I'm going to hide that layer. And I'm just going to duplicate the left hand. Drag it down here. And then call it right hand. Just move it over. See how that looks? That looks nice. Don't worry if it looks a little bit wrong in some places. We're going to fix everything when we rig. Let's move down to the legs. Draw a left leg top. Call it left leg top. Change the fill. And obviously highlight the layer and change the caps. Just like before, with the same layer highlighted. Let's make some skin and then change the order of the layers. And then change the color of the fill. Like that. Just drag this down just below the crotch and just above the right arm. Let's duplicate this, drag it under and call it right leg top. Just move it across, like this. R for rotation, move it into position. Now I'm going to draw the right leg bot. Don't complete the shape. Just leave it like that and call it right leg bot. Change the fill color, drag it down just above the right leg top. Now we're going to draw right shoe, including the sock. Right foot. And with that same layer highlighted, draw another shape. Hold down Shift to make a perfectly straight line. And then go into the shape and switch the order of the shapes. And then change the color to the same as the shoe. Just to be safe, I'm going to highlight all of these layers and then change them to round cap and round join. Then drag the right foot above the right leg bot. And now I'm just going to duplicate the right foot and call it left foot and move it across. I know this isn't exactly the same as the artwork, but the artwork is wrong. We need both feet facing the same direction. Okay, we need to extend this leg up and change the position of these points. We can also duplicate this right leg bot and call it left leg bot. And move it across. And also push it above the left leg top and then push left foot above that as well. And then we can change the rotation of the left leg top. Move it. And then now I know this doesn't look 100% perfect or complete, but we're going to fix everything as we go. Let's move on. Now it's time for parenting. Now what is parenting? Well, if I move the body, then I want the rest of the character to move, but as you can see, nothing is happening because nothing is attached to anything else. Parenting is the process of attaching layers to other layers, but in a specific order. Now I'm just going to go through this in order so that you can see. So, to parent something to something else, you grab this pick whip and drag it over the name of the layer that you want to parent it to. For instance, I want to parent the head to the body. So now whenever I move the body, you'll see that the head layer moves as well. But now we need to parent everything that's on the head to the head layer. For instance, the mouth, ear, front hair, pupils, eyes, and the fringe back. Grab one of those layers, pick whips, and pick whip it to the head. As you can see, they all get parented to the head. So if I move the head, they're all going to move with it. Now I'm going to parent the left hand to the left arm bot. I'm going to parent the left arm bot to the left arm top. And then I'm going to parent the left arm top to the body. So it goes, this is parented to this, is parented to this, parented to this. Then I'm going to parent the body to the crotch. So if I move the crotch, it should move the head and the arm like that. Let's do the same with the other arm. Right hand to right arm bot to right arm top and parent that to the body. And we don't need to worry about the legs because we're going to rig those with rubber hose. One thing that I like to do is I like to parent everything that's on the face to one null. What is a null? Well, layer, new, null object. It's an invisible object that you can move around, and you can parent two things and you can parent things to it. So this red square that you see here, let's just call it face, and parent it to the head. Now, if I'm animating anything on the face, at the moment everything's separate, so the eyes and the mouth. If I wanted to move them all together, at the moment I have to animate all of them separately, but instead I can just highlight them all and parent them all to the face control. Now, if I move the face control, it's just one set of keyframes that I have to apply to move everything on the face, and that's parenting done. Hello, and it's time to do anchor points. What is an anchor point? Well, if I click on the head and I open up this layer and I go into the transform tools, you'll see that we have anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. If I scale the head up, you'll see that it's scaling from this point here. If I rotate the head, you'll see that it's rotating from this point here. And if I change the position, you'll see that that point stays with the layer wherever it goes. So what is that point? Well, it's an anchor point. And at the moment, it's in the wrong place. We want the head to rotate from down here. How do you change an anchor point? Shortcut Y and click on the point and drag it down to where you want it. Now if I rotate the head, it will rotate from exactly where we want it to. Now let's correct the anchor points for every single layer. The mouth, we want the anchor point in the center. It's already there because in Preferences, General, I've already set this tick box on, center the anchor points in new shape layers, meaning that the anchor point will go by default to the center of your shape layer. Left ear, I don't want it in the center, I want it over here where it connects to the head. You want it to rotate to where it joins, like that. Front hair, doesn't really matter where the anchor point is. Left pupil should be in the center, which it is by default. Left eye, make it center. Right pupil, right eye. The head's already done. Fringe back. Let's pop it down here. So if we ever rotate it, shortcut R, maybe I want to rotate it from down there. The left hand should rotate from the wrist. And this is where we see whether or not we want to clean up the layers. If we rotate the hand here, you'll see that this sticks out a little bit. Let's clean that up. Like that. Maybe if it rotates like that. We also need to clean up this side. Okay, so left arm bot needs to rotate from where it joins. And also that doesn't really look clean, that line, so I'm just going to move it over with the arrow keys, and I'm going to change that so it's nice and clean. What happens if we rotate this? That does not look clean, so I'm going to edit the left arm top. So now it looks clean. Left arm top should rotate from the shoulder where it connects with the body. So if I rotate it, then it looks natural. Don't worry about this black line for now. If it shows up when we animate, we'll change it as we go. Body should rotate from where it connects to the crotch, and the crotch should rotate from where it connects to the legs. Now he looks a little bit like he's leaning forward, so maybe I'll just rotate the crotch and that will rotate everything backwards. Maybe his head now looks like it's leaning backwards. Rotate that forwards a little bit. Left foot should rotate from the heel. Don't worry about the legs for now. We're going to rig them with rubber hose in the next video. Right foot should rotate from the heel as well. And the right hand should rotate from the wrist where it connects to the right arm bot. Let's rotate it, see how clean it looks. Wow, that is not clean. Let's edit the right arm bot. Just cover up our mistakes a little bit there. Could do with being a bit wider. That looks nice. Maybe a little bit further down. There we go. Now to me, the right arm bot looks like it's a bit short. So I'm just going to check where the left arm bot rotates from, and then try and make the right arm bot rotate from the same height. Just going to move the design up. You see the symbol here where it has a little small circle next to the pen tool? That means if I click here, it's going to complete the layer and it's going to make another line. I don't want that, but I do want to hide this vertex. Hold down Command and just draw a square over that vertex. Now I've highlighted that vertex without adding another line. Move this up. Change the anchor point of the right arm bot. I'm going to solo these 3 layers so I can see what's going on. And then obviously if I rotate the right arm bot, it's not going to look good. So let's change the right arm top so that it looks nice and clean. If we rotate the arm quite far that you can see it messes up a bit, so we can correct that. Okay. Now the right arm top needs to rotate from the shoulder where it connects with the body, and that's it. That's anchor points done. Well, it's time to rig the legs with rubber hose, but I just realized something, that I have put the sock on the shoe. This is incorrect. The sock should be part of the leg, because let's say we make our character crouch down. His legs are going to bend like this. And that means we're going to have to animate the sock every time he bends, and that's just going to be annoying. So let's attach the sock to the leg. So let's go into the left foot, contents. This must be the sock. Cut it. Command X, cut it. And we're going to try and paste it into the left leg bot. See what happens? Click on Contents, Paste, drag it above the skin, and then I guess we need to drag this layer above the foot. And now we can see the skin under there, so edit the design a little bit. Add a vertex here, drag this up. Okay, that works. Okay, now we have to do the right leg, but forget about that right now. Let's just rig the left leg. Okay, solo the left leg bot, the left foot, and the left leg top. I'm actually going to drag the left foot to the bottom of these 3 layers. Okay, zoom out, fit. And for rigging legs, you need to know where the center of the comp is. So click this button, title action safe. This X is the center of the comp. The shortcut for this is apostrophe. Hopefully you've installed rubber hose, so go to Window, rubber hose 2. So we have to move the left leg bot and the left leg top up to the center of the comp. We have to make sure that where they join, where the knee would be, is directly in the center of the comp. This area is where the knee is going to rotate. Now that these 2 layers are in the center, highlight the left leg top, then left leg bot. It has to be in that order. It has to be top, then bottom. Click hip ankle, and then click new rubber rig. Now, as you can see, what has been created is an ankle controller, a hip controller, and a center controller. If you zoom in, you'll see that the bottom half is pretty much perfectly in line with the controller, but the top half seems to be a little bit off. Highlight the top half, pen tool, click one of the vertexes, and command, highlight them all, double click one of the vertexes, and change the anchor point, and then we can rotate that round. Now what happens if I lift this ankle controller? The knee bends, but as you can see, something is wrong. All you have to do, just like the arms, readjust the artwork and try to get the lines in line. Now if you drag it down, it's a pretty tidy knee, but you might have noticed something, and that is this line. Well, there's a pretty simple way of fixing this. Create a new shape layer right here. And we're going to call it left leg top cover. Open it up, get rid of the stroke, and make this the same color as the skin. And now I'm going to parent this layer to the left leg top. That might warp it a little bit. Let's just readjust it. And let's see whether or not this works. Okay, so it doesn't work completely. We need to change the shape of it like that, and then test it out again. Oh, we can see something there, but I don't think we're going to actually bend the knee that much. So drag it down. Aha, something going wrong there. Let's edit the shape again. Try lining it up perfectly with the side of the shape and see what happens now. Okay, that looks fantastic. It's good enough. So now we have a bending knee. Drag all 4 of these layers down just above the leg so that they're all together, and I'm going to unsolo them, and then I'm going to grab the ankle and hip controllers and move them down into position. So if I parent the ankle to the left foot, now if I lift the left foot, it will affect the leg. Also, if I parent the hip to the crotch, and if I move the character down, the knee bends. It kind of looks a little bit broken, but if we get this controller down here and move the artwork up back into position, then it will rotate in a more natural way. Let's move the ankle controller down, stretch the artwork, and then grab the artwork like this and push it back up. Now let's see what happens. Now it rotates around the foot a little bit more naturally. If you click ankle, you can also go into the effect, settings, and change the hose length. At the default height of the character, I like to have the hose just become straight. Like that. Let's check this out. Looks like changing the hose length has messed with this. Maybe we can change the... Okay, that messes with it even more. Okay, realism around 30%. I'm just going to adjust the left leg top artwork so it aligns again and makes it neat. Lift the character back up. Okay, that looks good enough. Hide these controllers for now. They're a little bit distracting. And you might notice that there's still a black line here. How do we get rid of this? Well, I'm just going to solo the crotch and the left leg. We're going to make a new shape layer. Call this left leg crotch cover. Delete the stroke, make it the same color as the crotch, and then parent this to the left leg top. Drag it just above the crotch, and now if we drag the crotch down, you'll see that it covers it up, but it's not long enough. Extend the artwork. Oh, you can see that this line is back. Let's just solo that. Okay, that looks great. Unsolo these. Go into the right foot now. Delete the sock. Hide the right leg layers now. And just see if I can duplicate this entire hose. Highlight ankle, and then go to manage, and then times by 2. If I grab the ankle and hip controllers, drag them along, yes, we've made an identical leg. Now, as you can see, the hip is already parented to the crotch, which is great, but we need to reparent the right ankle to the right foot instead of the left foot. Then we need to drag the right foot underneath this artwork, and hopefully if we grab the crotch, which we can recolor here, so you'll notice it a little bit better. But once again, we need to add another cover here to this leg. So let's delete these leg layers, rename these right leg bot, and then right leg top. Solo these, pull the crotch down, and then click away, and let's draw another shape layer. Call this right leg top cover. Get rid of the stroke, make it the same color as the skin, parent it to the right leg top. It's warped a little bit, just like before. Rearrange the vertexes, drag it just over the leg artwork, lift up the crotch, and let's see what happens. That works pretty good. I'm happy with that. Unsolo them. But what about this? What about this line? In classic cartoons, there's only a little bit of a line here, and the rest of it is just part of the shorts. draw a shape layer to cover up this mess. Call this right leg crotch cover. Drag it down underneath the left leg crotch cover. Delete the stroke. Make it the same color as the crotch. Make sure it's in position and now parent it to the right leg top. Let's see how this looks. Okay, something's showing here. Needs to be extended a little bit longer. Okay, this is a fully rigged character. Let's start animating. So, it's time to explain keyframes and easing. And to do this, I'm going to create a little circle. 2 points, put the second point over the first point, and call this ball 1. Open up the shape layer, delete the fill, go into the stroke, increase the stroke width, and then change the cap to a round cap. Then click P to reveal the position property. And all you have to do is click this stopwatch and you will create a keyframe. Just move this over here. So what are these two numbers? This is the X position and this is the Y position. If I move along on the timeline and I move the circle along with the arrows, then I create another keyframe in a different position. And if I move further along on the timeline, I can actually copy and paste this keyframe to make a loop. So what the computer's doing is it's working out the coordinates in between each of these keyframes. And this type of keyframe, as you can see, is very robotic. It's just moves from one keyframe to another and back. These keyframes are called linear keyframes. Now let's make a new ball and apply some easing. Command D to duplicate, drag it down, P for position, and with this blue line over one of the keyframes on this layer, highlight all 3 keyframes on this layer and drag them down. As you can see, it does exactly what the other one does, but now we're going to apply some easing to this middle keyframe. Right click, Keyframe Assistant, Ease In. Now what that does is it's going to make the ball start off fast and then get slower and slower up until this keyframe. And then after this ease in keyframe, it's just going to act like a linear keyframe because an ease in keyframe only affects stuff that's happening before it. So it starts off fast, gets slower and slower as it gets over here. Duplicate ball 1 again, drag it down, P for position. Drag these down. And I'm going to apply ease out to this one. So on the left-hand side of an ease out, it just acts like a linear keyframe, but on the right-hand side, it starts off slow and gets faster as it goes towards the next keyframe. So as you can see, it's linear up until this point, where it starts off slow and gets faster. And I can accentuate this by going into the graph editor, speed graph, and drag this. And then I can also accentuate this one as well by doing the same thing. So this ease in starts off super fast, slows down over here, and then just acts like a linear keyframe afterwards. And then this one acts like a linear keyframe and then starts off really slow on the way back and then gets faster. So how do I ease in to this middle keyframe and ease out? Well, duplicate this ball, P for position, right click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. What this does is it eases in and eases out. So it starts off fast from the linear keyframe, slows down as it gets towards here, changes direction obviously, and then starts off slow and then speeds up as it goes towards this other keyframe. Let's highlight these, drag them down, and see how this looks. And I can accentuate its movement just like I did with the other ones. You see, it starts off super fast, slows down over here, just like the ease in keyframe. And then it comes back by starting off slow and getting faster, just like the ease out keyframe. So it's an ease in and an ease out. So right now you might be saying, Ross, that's well and good. Why is this useful? Why are you teaching me this? Well, easing really is one of the fundamental principles of good animation. So let's just make 3 position keyframes for this ball. And I'm just going to show you one instance of why easing is useful. I'm going to move this middle keyframe up. And I'm going to press play. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to make a bouncing ball. And it doesn't look particularly natural. It's just going up and down in a very robotic way. Highlight the middle keyframe. Keyframe assistant. Easy ease. And now what this does is it spends more time in the air. You see it starts off fast, gets slower in the air. Let's accentuate that middle keyframe. You see it starts off quick, slows down as it gets to the top, and then starts accelerating as it goes down. That is more realistic for a bouncing ball than just this. It's the power of easing. It's useful. And once you get the hang of it, you're going to love it. Believe me. Now, let's start animating our character. Okay, here's our character. We have it parented, anchor pointed, drawn. It's ready for animation, basically, is what I'm saying. It's ready for animation. First things first. P for position on the crotch. We're going to make 3 keyframes. Going to move forward to about 2 seconds in the timeline and click B, and then go forward about a second and click N. And then we're going to make a keyframe, go forward about 7 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then make another keyframe by clicking this diamond, and then go forward another 7 keyframes, another keyframe right there, and then highlight the last keyframe and the first keyframe, and then press down. Make him bend down. Now we're going to easy ease these and copy and paste all of these, and then adjust the preview like that. Our character is going up and down. Wonderful. Now I'm going to animate the front foot. Both feet are going to be animated identically, except the timing is going to be shifted for one of the feet. So I'm just going to animate one of the feet for now, and then I'm going to copy and paste all of those keyframes onto the other foot afterwards. So I'm just going to hide the back leg, and I'm just going to animate the front foot. So P for position, first things first. Right click on the word position to separate dimensions. Now I'm going to create a couple keyframes at the beginning. Create a couple of keyframes at the end, highlight both sets of keyframes, and then push this quite far to the left, almost to where the leg becomes straight, and then go to the middle. And you'll know that it's the middle because the blue line is over this middle keyframe, and push the foot to the right, where the leg is almost straight, and then create another keyframe for the Y position, and then let's see how this looks. When you take a step, your feet are at their widest, so this means physically your body is at its lowest point. Moving on, as you pull your foot forward whilst walking, your foot is actually off the ground. So in the middle of these sets of keyframes, just push the foot up. It looks a little bit robotic, doesn't it? Well, let's add some easing. When you lift your foot off the ground, you start off slow, so that means I should ease out and then get faster until your foot is in the air, and then once your foot is in the air, it starts slowing down and starts speeding up again as it goes towards the ground, which means we ease this keyframe. So as we lift our foot off the ground, we start off slow, get faster, slow down again, reverse direction, start speeding up again until we hit the floor. See how that looks? Okay, it looks a little bit better. What's happening on the x-axis as we bring our foot forward? Well, we start off slow, so that means we ease out, and then as our foot gets to the front, we start slowing down again. So we ease in. As you can see, this has made a nice arc. A general rule of thumb for walk cycles is that when your foot is on the floor, it's moving at a constant speed. So that means when between here and here, the X keyframes need to be set to linear. And as I explained before in the easing tutorial, anything after an ease in keyframe is treated as linear. Ease in only affects stuff that happens before the keyframe, so it looks nice. Now we're going to animate the rotation. R for rotation, create a keyframe. U to show all existing keyframes in the layer, and we're going to move forward a couple frames. And we're going to push the rotation like that, so that where the toe is just touching the floor, and hopefully if we ease out of this frame, it should look kind of smooth. Yep, that looks good. So going forward to the point where the foot touches the floor, you want the foot rotated back, because when we walk, we land on our heels. 1 frame forward, set the rotation to 0, and maybe I'm going to ease in this keyframe. Okay, that looks good. Maybe around here, the foot still needs to be rotated forward, so I'm just going to add another keyframe, like that. See how it looks. Yeah, a little bit more organic, like it's got a bit of weight. I feel like the foot rotates a little forward too quickly. Just add another keyframe there. Yeah, that looks a little bit softer. I don't know about this rotation. It looks like the toe is going into the ground. But how do you know where the ground is when there's no ground? So let's quickly draw a line. Just make it 1 pixel. Now, I don't want this line to turn up on the render, so I'm just going to right-click, set it to a guide layer. Now you'll see that there's a blue sort of hashtag thing there. You'll see that it turns up on all the rubber hose control layers as well. That just means it's a guide layer, and whatever it is, it's not going to show up on the render. So let's show the keyframes, see if the toe goes into the floor, and it does. But maybe what we can do is change the shape of the path to make it look like the foot is kind of bending. So let's make a couple keyframes. And I'm going to change the shape of the shoe. Maybe add another vertex here. So that the toe kind of looks like it's bending on the floor. Ease out. And then as soon as it's off the ground, copy and paste the first keyframe so it goes back to its normal shape. See how this looks? I feel like at this point, the foot should probably be rolling on the toe, so it's already going into the air. So maybe I'll just animate that. A few more keyframes. I want to change the keyframes at the end and at the beginning, so highlight them both, holding down Shift. Lift it up and rotate it. And make a couple more path keyframes, copy and paste the shape that we made earlier, like that. Maybe I can lift it up a little bit more so it looks a bit better. Rotate it. And then as soon as it's lifted up off the floor, return to the normal shape again, or maybe over a couple frames. And as it's being lifted, maybe we can rotate it forward a little bit more, give it a bit more weight. See how it looks? Kind of looks like it's clicking into place there. Don't really want that. Maybe we should ease out these keyframes. And there's a problem because the ones at the beginning are also eased. So maybe we should just turn these to linear. So it starts off slow there, speeds up there, full speed ahead there. It's a little bit janky. What happens if I drag these to smooth out the keyframes? So it starts off slow over a longer period of time. Still doesn't work. Maybe I need to copy and paste these keyframes over here. And then drag these keyframes forward so that the loop happens around here. Let me show you what I mean. Just going to copy and paste these an equal distance from where they are from here. So they're the same distance between here and here. And then grab them all. And then just push them all forwards a little bit so that the loop happens right there in the middle. Oh, maybe I just need to ease these. Okay. Now I'm just going to copy and paste the keyframes from the left foot to the right foot, but you can't just highlight them all and copy and paste them into here, because if you do that, it might just make a new shape layer. So what you need to do is create a path keyframe first and a position keyframe, and separate the dimensions and create a rotation keyframe as well, so that there's already some existing keyframes to paste onto. Paste like that. And now what I have to do is offset these keyframes by half of the loop, which means that this point here, in between these two sets of keyframes, should be here. So let's just drag these. There we go. And see how that looks. And as you can see, nothing happens for half of the loop. That's because there's no keyframes back here. How do we fix this? Well, I can apply a looping expression, and then After Effects just imagines that there's keyframes here. But the loop has to be the exact length that this loop is. So that means I have to get rid of these keyframes, because this is the perfect size of the loop. So I'm just going to apply the expression. Alt-click on this stopwatch and type loopIn with a capital I, brackets, plus loopOut with a capital O, brackets, minus value, semicolon. Then I'm going to highlight all of that, copy and paste it into the Y position, paste it into the rotation. You can't apply a looping expression to paths, but as you can see over here, there's actually no path animation, so we don't actually need to loop the path. Let's see how this looks. It looks great. Let's show the right leg layers, but obviously there's always going to be a problem, and the problem is the right hip is further to the right than the left hip, which means the right leg, when it goes back, is stretching more than the left leg. So what we have to do is grab all of the right foot X position keyframes and move them to the right, the same amount that the hip is to the right of the left hip. So I'm just going to ballpark this, move them over by this much. Now, I know this looks a little bit robotic, and that's because the crotch movement should actually be a little bit delayed, maybe by a couple frames, maybe even 3. And as you can see, there's no keyframe data over here, so I'm just going to apply the same looping expression so that After Effects imagines that there's keyframes before, making a perfect loop like that. Now, why did I delay the crotch keyframes? Well, it gives the illusion of weight. As our bodies move down when we step, the realistic thing that happens is that the body keeps moving for a little bit of time extra because the leg is suddenly adjusting to this new weight. So instead of doing this, which looks completely unrealistic, like the body doesn't weigh anything at all, I push these keyframes to the right, delaying the body's timing, meaning that it comes down after the foot has been placed on the floor. Just a little thing to make it look a little bit more natural. Now it's time to animate the arms. So left arm top, create the rotation keyframe. Left arm bot, same. Left hand, and let's do the same for the right hand, right arm bot, and right arm top. This should look like that. The same as this leg. And then this should look like that. The same as this leg. So when this leg is pushed backwards, this arm is pushed forwards. And when this leg is pushed forwards, this arm is pushed backwards. Why do we do this? We're just trying to keep our bodies balanced at all times. That's what we're doing. Go to the end, create another set of keyframes, and then go to the middle, and make sure you're in the middle, and rotate the arms the other way. I might even bend this up a little bit and create a little keyframe there, just so it's straight when it's back. And then highlight these 2 keyframes, and then rotate it up as well. And for the hand, maybe rotate it forward a little bit, and then when it's back, rotate it back a little bit like that. Do the same for the other hand. Highlight this keyframe and hold down Shift, highlight this keyframe, and then rotate it back like that. Then easy ease, and you'll see that it looks a little bit robotic. Everything is rotating at the same time as everything else. How do we delay that? You guessed it. We're going to add the same looping expression that we did before. Loop, capital I, in, brackets, plus loop out, capital O, brackets, minus value, semicolon. I'm going to copy and paste this into all of these layers by alt-clicking on the stopwatch, alt-click and paste for all of them. It just makes things a little bit easier. So U to show all existing keyframes. And now I'm going to delay some of these layers. So the most obvious thing to delay is the hands. Just going to push them forward by 3 frames. And then I'm going to highlight the hands and the arm bots, and I'm going to delay them by 3 frames. As you can see, this looks a little bit more natural. To be honest, I feel like the arms are rotating a little bit too much. It just looks a little bit weird, doesn't it? So get rid of some of that. See how that looks. Grab all of these keyframes, pull them all to the right. Now I'm going to affect the rotation of the head and the crotch. So click R, create a keyframe, and R on the head as well, and maybe even the position as well. Create a couple more keyframes at the end, and create some keyframes in the middle. Now, for the rotation of the crotch, this leg is forward. That means the body is maybe backwards. Highlight all of those, ease them, and see how that looks. Feel like we need to delay it, so I'm just going to apply the looping expression just like before, and then I can delay the keyframes. So I'm just messing around with timings here, just experimenting until I land on something that I feel looks correct. I feel like that looks a little bit more natural, yeah. Okay, so for the head, I want it to bounce up and down every time the body goes up and down. In the middle of these keyframes, just make another keyframe where the head is just a little bit lower. And then at its lowest point, maybe just rotate it forward a couple degrees. Highlight all of these and then apply the looping expression to the keyframes. And this loop is actually half the length of this loop, so I can actually just get rid of these keyframes. And maybe I can delay the rotation keyframes, accentuate the amount that the position changes. I feel like the arms could rotate out a little bit more. Grab the right arm top and the left arm top and increase the amount that they rotate. Like that. See how that looks? I feel like the arm bots still need to be delayed by a little bit more. Maybe even they could rotate back. Like that. Highlight these two and rotate them back. I feel like the crotch should rotate a little bit more. Okay, rotate it forward at the point where it does rotate forward. Okay, that looks good. And what I also like to do is scale the crotch. So set a scale keyframe here, set another one dead in the middle, and apply that looping expression. And then in the middle of this little loop, we're going to squash it down by 2% and stretch it wider by 2%. Ease these and see how it looks. Then we're going to delay these scale keyframes by like 3 frames. And it's not really noticeable, so I'm going to accentuate that just for this tutorial. Just a little squash and stretch. Now we can animate the face, just going up and down. Create a little half loop like that. Add the expression. And then in between these 2 keyframes, make it go down. Ease. And then maybe delay the timing. Okay, just to finish off, let's fix some obvious mistakes with the design. So this line obviously needs to decrease in length. This line completely disappears here. There's something going on with the legs. Let's just go through these one by one and fix them. So left arm top, path. Gonna go to the middle. Make another keyframe. Go to the end. Make another keyframe. Move this down. And then copy and paste that end keyframe to the beginning. Ease. And then delay these. So we need some keyframes back here. So copy and paste these. And hopefully it will line up. It did line up. Very good. And then highlight all of the path keyframes. And then delay them to the point where they line up with the rotation keyframes. Okay, that looks good. Let's fix over here. Just going to do the same thing, but on the body. So this is the point where it should be that length. So move the keyframe there, move back to the point where it's wrong, and create another keyframe, and then lift it up to hide the mistake, and ease, and then go back and see how that looks. It looks fine there. Go forward, and then make another keyframe here, just before it's about to happen, and then go forward, and then copy and paste that keyframe from before, and now that should loop correctly. Looks a little bit weird. Maybe it should happen a bit quicker. Maybe move that forward. Or maybe it should happen a little bit slower. Or maybe it just needs to happen sooner. Sooner and quicker. Okay, that makes sense. Now let's fix the issue on the crotch. It looks a bit strange. And I think it's because of all these crotch covers. Perhaps this crotch cover needs to be below the top of this left leg. So let's see what happens if I move the left leg top, left leg bot, left foot, and left leg top cover. Move them all above the right leg crotch cover. Aha. Okay, so that's completely wrong. How do we fix this? What we could do is duplicate the crotch and then get rid of the stroke and then put it over the top of the left leg and all of the stuff. Okay, that looks good. But as you can see, we've deleted its top crotch's stroke. So now we can only see half the stroke below, which is the stroke from the crotch beneath it. So that means we need to shrink this extra crotch. How do we scale it down if there's already keyframes? Well, it's just the same keyframes as the original crotch. So what we can do is get rid of the looping expression by alt-clicking on the stopwatch. Then we can get rid of the keyframes by clicking on this stopwatch. Then we can do the same for the rotation and position. So we've got rid of all the keyframes. It's in exactly the same position and scale as the original crotch. Now we just parent it to the crotch, and now we can link these scale properties and scale it down. And we can affect the position as well because there's no keyframes. See how that looks? As a last little thing, maybe we can see if it would look good if the body went a little bit lower at its lowest point. See how that looks? Okay, that's a walk cycle done. Thank you for watching this tutorial and course. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope it helped you out. Keep on animating and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.